Hi, Filter here. Probably noticed a new chair here. Got two of these things for $5 at a yard sale. However, what I'd like to talk about is the lack of imagination on SJW's side. And what I mean by that is when you look at a Rian Johnson, it kind of strikes you that this guy has no imagination. He's bereft of it. That's how come this idea, his story for Star Wars The Last Jedi is just awful. It wasn't imaginative, it was just like this weird hodgepodge of garbage just thrown together. Which now leads me to the current crop of comic book writers, I'm afraid. Um, um Gabby Rivera. She's not terribly imaginative. If you look at the America comic that she did, it seemed more like she was writing out of her diary of some weird fantasies that she's been having. And I guess the same thing goes for Mags Visaggio. I mean, it just seems very odd. Not terribly imaginative. Not. I mean, how can I put it? I'm looking at the video, and you've all seen it, where CB Zabolski basically admits that and that he's SJW, and you have Sama Amanat, who's basically admitting that she wants to turn Marvel into a lifestyle brand. You know, get rid of the boy problem. It's sort of like when you go to a doctor's office. How can I put it? You go to a doctor's office and you pick up a magazine, and all you have is a ton of women's magazines and maybe Time magazine or Newsweek, and you have no interest in reading anything. You don't see a Sports Illustrated. You don't even see a Scientific American or Popular Mechanics or something like that, or Motorhome or something like that. You don't see that, but you just see all the stuff catered to basically the nurses that work and the receptionists that work there. They bring their magazines in and they leave it for you to read. That's what's rapidly going to become of Marvel, where you're going to be very disinterested. The comics are low on action, high on lifestyle and talking and activism. This is why the comics are so boring these days. Now, this leads us to something else. The Vertigo titles that are coming out, and how many of them. I'll say this. One of them has the potential to be a miniseries on TV and somewhat successful limited series, and that is American Carnage. Basically, the one guy, he's a biracial dude who looks white. As an FBI agent, he goes undercover to fight white supremacy. It's been done before, but then again, in this current crop, this day and age, it's going to be done to death, so what the hell. It might last a good amount of time, sort of Twin Peaks-like, but it can only go so far. Then you got, what is the other one? Another one, which is interesting, is called High Level. That actually might make it to Sci-Fi Channel. Might. So will probably Hex Wives. But here's my problem with Hex Wives in this Vertical title. And the synopsis says it all, but I have to say there's something wrong with it. Here's the synopsis. The women are too powerful, they must be tamed. A malevolent conspiracy of men brainwashes a coven of witches to be subservient suburban housewives. But it's only a matter of time before the women remember their power. Now, first of all, they're not terribly powerful if they're going to be brainwashed that easily. So let's just go on. Now we get to the one which everybody's been freaking out over. And that is Goddess Mode by Zoe Quinn. Now, I have to give you one thing. That woman has an imagination. Look at all the crap that she did to to have people believe her BS story after sleeping with 5 guys. And again, this is more derivative because, of course, you need to have women doing everything and guys being the bad guys or just irrelevant. Now we get to one called Safe Sex. I love this cover. I love this cover. Nope. Shaved head and dyed white girl right there with a shite load of tattoos, kissing minority per girl of color with tattoos all over and no chest. No boobs, discernible boobs. Because after all, heterosexuality, that's aberrant. Mm-hmm. But of course it's about sex, which seems to be this weird thing in comics nowadays. This obsession with sex work and same-sex relationships. It was edgy back in the 80s. It was edgy back in the 70s. Somewhat edgy back in the 90s, but nowadays it's like, eh. And quite frankly, the idea of totalitarianism and puritanism seems to really be coming from, not from the right, but really from the left these days. After all, they have no problem shutting down free speech. And yes, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to regulate what people do in bed. Especially if it doesn't fit their paradigm. Paradigm. That's a good word. Well, nonetheless, I just want to get that stuff off my chest. And I don't know what to say about most of this stuff. Like I said, most of these stories here with this Vertigo title, especially Hex Wives, that may as well be called the Stepford Wives, the supernatural Stepford Wives, okay? That's all it is. But most of the stuff we've seen and heard before, including there's one called Second Coming where Jesus comes back to find out that the gospel's been messed up, it's been distorted. And I don't even want to touch where they're going to go with that. But it might be interesting to get the first issue, just to, I don't know, maybe to roast it or something like that. Actually, no, I generally don't roast. I don't roast comics. The last comic I roasted was that Hawkeye, issue of Hawkeye. But I could say one thing. One thing that diversity in comics does, which you probably, I noticed this, when he reads something really, really cringy, he goes, ugh! And it sounds like he's taking a real unhealthy dump. You know, he's like constipated. He's really trying to force it out. He's like, ugh! I understand now. I really get it now. When you read some of this stuff, you just go, ugh! You just want to just, oh, who allows these people outside their house? And all I can simply say is, I'm waiting for the day when the unimaginative writers of comics and movies are finally ousted. And we have real writers, and not activists who want to constantly browbeat us with their hatred of the conservative du jour that's in power. Okay? I mean, you know what would be great? Show Antifa, where Antifa being violent. And don't give them a justification like, oh, well, they had to do it because we had to punch a Nazi. No. Show Antifa being violent by actually attacking somebody for maybe just showing up someplace with a hat, a red hat. That would be more intriguing to show. That would be more interesting as a comic. Instead of this constant, well, I hate Donald Trump and the GOP, so I'm going to just keep showing them that I hate Donald Trump and the GOP. I'm going to keep putting this story out there until people understand what I mean. When they don't realize that, the more you do that, the more people go, no, not interested. Boring. Well, I'm Filter. Like this video if you like. Hit the subscribe, the notification bell. Subscribe, rate this video if you like. Leave a comment in the comment section. Until then, I'm Filter, and y'all take care now.